The house felt too big after Helen passed. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a finished basement I never used anymore. But it was paid off, and I had my routines. Coffee at 6, breakfast by the window watching the Cardinals at the feeder, then the crossword puzzle from the Toronto Star. Tuesdays I drove to the Legion. Thursdays I met my buddy Frank at Tim Hortons. Saturdays were for hockey on the television. Even though the Leafs kept breaking my heart year after year, I was 65 years old, and I'd earned this quiet. Helen and I never had children. We'd tried for years, went through all the tests, all the heartache. Eventually we made peace with it. We had each other, and we had our nieces and nephews. Dorothy's kids especially. My sister Dorothy had 3 boys, and I'd always tried to be there for them. Birthday cards with money inside, taking them to Blue Jays games when they were young. I figured that was my role. The uncle who showed up. The watch collection sat in my study, in the glass cabinet Helen had given me for our 30th anniversary. 12 watches, spanning 3 generations. My grandfather's 1,951 Omega Seamaster. My father's 1,968 Rolex Submariner. A Patek Philippe my father had bought in 1975 for his 40th birthday. Others I'd collected over the years. Helen used to tease me about them. "George, you can only wear one at a time," she'd say, laughing. But she understood. These weren't just watches. They were history. They were the men who'd raised me. My father had worn that Rolex every single day until Alzheimer's took his memory. Even then, even when he couldn't remember my name, he'd reach for his wrist in the morning, looking for it. When he passed, I'd had it cleaned, serviced, and placed it in the cabinet. I couldn't bring myself to wear it. It was his. I was polishing the glass one October afternoon when my phone rang. Dorothy. "George, I need to ask you something." Her voice had that edge to it. Stressed. "What's going on?" "It's Marcus. He lost his apartment. Some dispute with his landlord. He needs a place to stay for a few weeks while he sorts things out. I'd take him, but you know Brian's back is acting up. And we've only got the one spare room with all Brian's medical equipment now." Marcus, 32 years old, Dorothy's youngest. I hadn't seen him in maybe 2 years, not since Helen's funeral. He'd shown up late, left early, spent most of the service on his phone. "What happened with the landlord?" Dorothy hesitated. "He says the landlord's being unreasonable about some damage to the unit. You know how these landlords are." I knew what she wasn't saying. I'd heard stories over the years. Marcus had always been the difficult one. Dropped out of college twice. Couldn't hold down a job. Dorothy and Brian kept bailing him out, kept making excuses. But he was family. And I had 3 empty bedrooms. "Sure," I said. "He can stay in the guest room." "But Dorothy, just a few weeks, right?" "Oh, George, thank you. Yes, just until he gets back on his feet." "You're a lifesaver." Marcus showed up the next evening in a rusted Honda Civic with a trash bag full of clothes and a backpack. He was thinner than I remembered, needed a shave, wearing a hoodie with stains on it. "Hey, Uncle George." He didn't quite meet my eyes when he shook my hand. "Marcus, good to see you." "Yeah, thanks for letting me crash here. It's just temporary." I showed him the guest room. Clean sheets, towels in the bathroom, space in the closet. "Make yourself at home. The kitchen's yours to use. I usually have dinner around 6 if you want to join me." "Cool. Yeah. I appreciate it." The first few days were fine. Quiet. Marcus slept late, spent most of his time in his room. I'd hear him on his phone, talking to someone, but I minded my own business. He came down for dinner twice that first week. Didn't talk much. Pushed his food around his plate while scrolling through his phone. "How's the job search going?" I asked on the Thursday. He shrugged. "Putting out applications. It's rough out there, you know. Economy's garbage." "What kind of work are you looking for?" "I don't know. Something in tech, maybe. Or sales. I'm pretty good with people." I nodded. Didn't push it. Helen always said I needed to be more patient with people, especially young people. They were figuring things out. By the second week, things started to shift. Marcus began helping himself to my food without asking. Not just basics, but the good stuff. The aged cheddar I bought as a treat. The craft beer Frank had brought over. My coffee beans from the Italian place downtown that cost $22 a bag. I came downstairs one morning to find Marcus eating cereal at my kitchen table, my laptop open in front of him. "Morning," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "That's my computer." "Oh, yeah, sorry. Mine's dead, and I needed to check my email. Job stuff, you know." He didn't close it, didn't move. "Marcus, you need to ask before using my things." "Right, sorry. Won't happen again." But his tone said he didn't think it was a big deal. I made my coffee, did my crossword puzzle in silence. When I went back upstairs, my laptop was still on the table, still open. He'd left his email up. I closed it, brought it to my study. That weekend, I went to watch hockey at Frank's place. When I came home around 9, there were 5 people in my living room I'd never seen before. Beer bottles on my coffee table. Someone had ordered pizza, and the empty boxes were stacked on my kitchen counter. The television was blasting some show I didn't recognize. Marcus was on the couch, laughing at something on his phone. "Marcus." I had to say it twice before he looked up. "Who are these people?" "Oh, hey, Uncle George. These are some friends. We're just hanging out." "In my house," without asking me. One of the guys on my recliner smirked. A girl with purple hair looked uncomfortable. "Yeah, sorry. I figured it'd be cool. You weren't here. I need you to ask them to leave." The room went quiet. Marcus stared at me for a long moment, then stood up. "All right, guys. Party's over. My uncle needs his beauty sleep." They filed out, a couple of them muttering things I couldn't quite hear. Marcus didn't apologize again, just went upstairs to his room and closed the door. I cleaned up the bottles, the pizza boxes, the chip crumbs ground into my carpet. It was past midnight before I finished. I sat in my chair, in the quiet house, and wondered what I'd gotten myself into. The next morning, I had the talk I should have had from the beginning. "Marcus, we need to set some ground rules. This is my home. You're welcome here, but I need you to respect my space. That means asking before using my things. No guests without permission. And we need to talk about a timeline. How long until you find a place?" He was eating my cereal again. Didn't look up. "I don't know, man. I'm trying. It's not like apartments grow on trees. I understand it's difficult, but we agreed on a few weeks. It's been 2.5 weeks now." "Jesus, George. I didn't realize you were counting the days." He said my name, not uncle. Said it with an edge. "I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just asking for a plan." "Yeah, well, maybe if you weren't on my back all the time, I could focus on finding work." He left the house 20 minutes later, didn't say where he was going, didn't come back until after midnight. I heard him stumbling up the stairs, hitting the wall. I called Dorothy the next day. "Has Marcus always been like this?" She sighed. The kind of sigh that said she'd been expecting this call. "Like what?" "Entitled. Disrespectful. He's going through a hard time, George. He's always been sensitive. Needs things done a certain way. He's 32 years old, Dorothy. I know how old my son is." Her voice went cold. "Look, I appreciate you helping him out. If it's too much, I can try to find somewhere else for him to go." I should have said yes. Should have told her to pick him up that day. But some part of me, the part that remembered taking Marcus to his first hockey game when he was 7, that remembered Helen saying we should always help family, that part said, "No, it's fine. I'll work it out with him. Give him time, George. He's had a lot of disappointment in his life." Haven't we all? I thought, but I didn't say it. 3 days later, I found a charge on my credit card I didn't recognize. $127.50 at some restaurant downtown. Then another, $89.99 at the liquor store. I only noticed because I was paying my bills online. I checked my wallet. My Visa was there. I kept it in the same spot, always, in the billfold Helen had given me. But something felt wrong. I went to my study, the drawer where I kept my banking information, my spare checkbook. I opened it. Everything looked normal, but the papers were slightly out of order. I was meticulous about these things. That night at dinner, I asked him, "Marcus, did you use my credit card?" He was scrolling through his phone, barely listening. "What?" "My credit card. There are charges I didn't make." Now he looked up. "I don't know what you're talking about." I showed him my phone, the banking app. The charges, this restaurant, this liquor store. That was you. He set down his fork. Okay, look. I borrowed it once. I was going to pay you back. I had some guys to meet for a potential job opportunity. Needed to take them out. Networking, you know? You took my credit card without asking. Jesus. I said I'd pay you back. It's not like you can't afford it. That's not the point. Then what is the point, George? There it was again. My name, not uncle. You're sitting here in this big house, all alone with your pension and your savings, and you can't spot your nephew $100 for a job opportunity? If you'd asked me, I might have helped you. But you didn't ask. You took. He stood up. You know what? Forget it. I don't need your help. I don't need your lectures. I'll figure it out myself like I always do. He went upstairs. I sat at the table, the food going cold, and felt something hardening in my chest. I should have kicked him out that night. I know that now. But I didn't. I told myself I'd give him one more chance. One more conversation. We were family. 2 days passed. Marcus avoided me. Slept until noon. Left the house in the afternoon. Came back late. When I did see him, he didn't speak to me. Just brushed past like I wasn't there. Then I got the call from my bank. Fraud detection. 3 transfers of $500 each from my savings account to an e-transfer email address I didn't recognize, all within 2 hours of each other. My hands went cold. When did these occur? I asked the woman on the phone. Yesterday afternoon, sir. Between 2 and 4 p.m. I'd been at the Legion yesterday afternoon, playing cribbage with Frank and the boys. My computer had been in my study, my banking password written in the notebook in my desk drawer, because I could never remember the damn thing. Marcus had been home alone. I didn't authorize these transfers. We'll need you to come into the branch to file a fraud report, sir. Can you come in today? I drove to the bank in a fog, filled out the papers, answered their questions. They froze my account, started an investigation, told me it would take time. When I got home, Marcus's car was in the driveway. I found him in the kitchen, making a sandwich. Marcus, I need to ask you something, and I need you to tell me the truth. What now? He didn't turn around. Did you transfer money from my savings account? His hand stopped, holding the knife over the peanut butter. No. The bank flagged 3 transfers yesterday. $1,500. I didn't make them. He turned around now. And you think I did? You were the only one here. So you're accusing me of stealing from you. I'm asking you for the truth. I didn't touch your money, George. Maybe you forgot. You're getting old, you know. Maybe you're getting confused. The disrespect in his voice. The casual cruelty of it. Something snapped. Get out. What? Get your things and get out of my house. You're kicking me out over some mix-up at the bank? You stole from me. You took my credit card. You transferred my money. And you're standing here lying to my face. His expression changed. The fake confusion dropped away, replaced by something cold. You can't prove anything. I don't need to prove it to you. This is my house. I want you out. Fine. He threw the knife into the sink. I'll go. But good luck getting your money back. Those transfers are long gone. He said it so casually, confirming everything. What did you spend it on? He laughed. Actually laughed. What do you think? Rent? No, George. I spent it on having a good time. On things that matter. Not sitting in this depressing house looking at dead people's watches. You need to leave. Now. I'll leave when I'm ready. You can't just throw me out. I have tenant rights. I pulled out my phone. Then I'm calling the police. Go ahead. Call them. Tell them your nephew borrowed some money. See how far that gets you. My finger hovered over the 9. Part of me still couldn't believe this was happening. This was Dorothy's son. This was the kid I'd bought hockey cards for. Taken to movies. Written checks for every birthday and Christmas for 32 years. Last chance, Marcus. Leave on your own. He stared at me. Then he walked past me, up the stairs. I heard him in his room, moving around. I thought he was packing. I went to my study, sat at my desk. My hands were shaking. I opened the drawer with my father's papers, his letters, the things I kept to remember him by. And that's when I saw it. The cabinet. The glass door was open. I always kept it locked. I stood up so fast my chair fell over. The watches. I moved to the cabinet, my heart pounding in my ears. I counted them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 were missing. The Rolex. My father's Rolex. The Patek Philippe. The Omega. 4 others I'd collected over the years. Gone. I couldn't breathe. I put my hand on the cabinet, steadying myself. Footsteps on the stairs. Marcus's voice, calling back to me. "I'm heading out, George. Thanks for the hospitality." I walked out of my study. He was at the front door, backpack over his shoulder, trash bag in his hand. "Where are my watches?" He froze. Didn't turn around. "I asked you a question. Where are my father's watches?" He turned slowly, and he smiled. Actually smiled. "I don't know what you're talking about. The cabinet in my study. 7 watches are missing, including my father's Rolex." "Huh, that's weird. Maybe you should be more careful about locking things up." I moved toward him. "Give them back. Right now. I told you. I don't have your watches. Maybe you misplaced them. You know, with your memory going and all. You stole them. Prove it." He adjusted his backpack. "Like I said, those things should have been locked up. It's not my fault you're careless." He reached for the door handle. I called 911. "What are you doing?" Marcus's voice, for the first time, held uncertainty. "Police, please." I kept my eyes on him. "I need to report a theft." "You're really going to do this? Over some watches?" The operator came on. "What is your emergency?" "My name is George Morrison. I'm at 247 Oakwood Avenue in Etobicoke. My nephew has stolen property from my home and is attempting to leave with it." "Sir, is anyone in danger?" "No, but he has approximately $40,000 worth of watches in his possession that belong to me. He's at my front door right now." Marcus's face went pale. 40,000? You're insane." The operator was asking me questions, describing Marcus, saying officers were on the way. Marcus bolted, grabbed the door handle, yanked it open. I watched him run down my front walk, throw his bag in the car, peel out of my driveway. "He's fleeing the scene," I told the operator. "Silver Honda Civic." I gave her the license plate number. I'd noticed it that first day, written it down. Force of habit from my years working security systems. The police arrived 12 minutes later. 2 officers, a man and a woman, young enough to be my grandchildren. I showed them the cabinet, showed them my records, my insurance papers with photographs and serial numbers of every watch, showed them my bank statements, the fraudulent transfers. "And you're certain it was your nephew who took them?" the female officer asked. "He was the only other person in this house. He admitted to taking my credit card. He made a comment about the watches just before he ran. They took my statement, told me they'd file a report, said they'd be in touch. I called Dorothy. She deserved to hear it from me." "You did what?" Her voice was shrill. "You called the police on Marcus?" "He stole from me, Dorothy. $1,500 from my bank account. 7 watches worth $40,000. Those watches, George, he probably thought they were just old junk sitting there. He knew exactly what they were worth. And they weren't junk. They were Dad's. They were Granddad's. They're just things, George. He's your nephew. He's family. Family doesn't steal from each other. He was desperate. You have no idea what he's been going through. So that gives him the right to rob me? I can't believe you'd do this. After everything we've been through, after I asked you to help him, I did help him. I gave him a place to stay. I gave him food, patience, chances. He threw it all away. If he goes to jail, George, that's on you. That's on your conscience." She hung up. I stood in my kitchen, phone in my hand, and felt completely alone. The police found Marcus 3 days later at a friend's apartment in Mississauga. They recovered 5 of the 7 watches. The Rolex and one of the others had already been sold to a pawn shop. The police helped me get them back, but I had to pay the pawn shop owner $8,000 because he'd purchased them legally. Had no way of knowing they were stolen. Marcus was charged with theft over $5,000, fraud, and identity theft from the credit card and bank transfers. His bail was set at $20,000. Dorothy and Brian mortgaged their house to pay it. I didn't go to the bail hearing, didn't go to any of the court dates. My lawyer handled everything. Marcus pleaded guilty to avoid trial. The Crown was asking for 3 years. His lawyer argued for probation, community service, restitution, said Marcus was remorseful. Struggling with addiction, needed help, not punishment. I wrote a victim impact statement. Told them about my father, about the Rolex he wore every day of my childhood, about polishing these watches with my own father when I was a boy, learning their mechanisms, their history, about Helen teasing me but understanding why they mattered, about what it felt like to open that cabinet and find them gone. The judge sentenced him to 18 months in prison, plus 2 years probation. Ordered him to pay full restitution for the watches, the pawn shop fee, the bank transfers, everything. Came to just over $52,000. I knew I'd never see that money. Marcus didn't have it. Never would. Dorothy sent me a letter. Not an email. A letter, handwritten, 3 pages long. She told me I'd ruined her son's life. Said I'd chosen things over family. Said I was heartless, cold, that Helen would be ashamed of me. Said she never wanted to see me or hear from me again. I read it once. Then I folded it up and put it in a drawer. My buddy Frank came over the day after the sentencing. "How you holding up, George?" "I'm all right." "Dorothy, still not talking to you?" "No." We sat in silence for a while. Frank knew better than to try to fill it with empty words. "You did the right thing," he finally said. "Did I?" "He stole from you. He violated your home. Some lines you don't cross, even with family. Dorothy thinks I should have just let it go. Given him another chance." "How many chances did you give him?" I thought about it. The credit card, the bank transfers, the disrespect, the lies. Every chance I'd given him to come clean, to apologize, to change. "Too many," I said. Frank nodded. "You gave him rope. He hung himself. That's not on you." I wanted to believe that. Some days I did. Other days I lay awake at night wondering if I could have done something different. If I should have seen the signs earlier, if I'd failed Marcus somehow, the way Dorothy thought I had. My therapist, a woman named Dr. Patel, who I'd started seeing after Helen died, had a different perspective. "You set a boundary," she said. Perhaps the first real boundary Marcus had ever encountered. And he couldn't handle it. That's not your failing. That's his. His mother thinks I destroyed him. You held him accountable. Those are not the same thing. It feels the same. I know. But consider this, George. If you'd let it go, what would you have taught him? That he can steal, lie, manipulate, and face no consequences as long as he's family? How would that help him? I didn't have an answer for that. The watches sit in their cabinet now. I had a better lock installed. I polish them every Sunday, the way my father taught me. The Rolex is back, though it hurts to look at it now. The memory is tainted, but I wear it sometimes. On Tuesdays when I go to the Legion, on Thursdays when I meet Frank at Tim's, my father wore it through everything life threw at him, the good and the bad. It kept ticking. I'm learning to do the same. Marcus wrote me a letter from prison. 4 months into his sentence, it was short. "Uncle George, I'm sorry for what I did. I was in a bad place and I made bad choices. I know you probably won't forgive me, and I don't blame you. But I wanted you to know that I'm getting help here. There's programs for addiction and anger management. I'm trying to do better. I don't expect anything from you. Just wanted you to know. Marcus." I read it 3 times, looking for manipulation, for an angle. I couldn't find one. Maybe it was genuine. Maybe it wasn't. I didn't know anymore. I haven't written back. I don't know if I will. Dorothy's birthday was last month. For 30 years, I've sent her a card. This year, I didn't. I started to, twice. Pen in my hand, card in front of me, but I couldn't think of what to write. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. I think about Marcus sometimes. Wonder if he's really changing, or if he's just biding his time. Wonder if he'll come out of prison better or worse. Wonder if I'll ever see him again, if we'll ever sit across a table from each other and find a way past this. But mostly I think about what Dr. Patel said, about boundaries, about how loving someone doesn't mean accepting their worst behavior, about how sometimes the kindest thing you can do is let someone face the consequences of their own choices. I think about my father, about the Rolex on my wrist, about how he worked 60-hour weeks in a job that broke his back to provide for us, how he never complained, never made excuses, never blamed anyone else when things went wrong, how he taught me that a man's word matters, that integrity isn't negotiable, that some things are worth protecting. The house is still too quiet. I still have my routines. Coffee at 6, crossword by the window, hockey on Saturdays. The Leafs still break my heart, but I sleep at night now. The locks are changed, the cabinet is secure, my accounts are protected, and I know something I didn't know before. I know that I can set a boundary and hold it, even when it costs me, even when it costs me family, even when it would be easier to look away. Helen used to say that we teach people how to treat us. Every time we accept behavior that violates our values, we're giving permission for it to continue. I didn't understand that when she said it. I think I do now. Marcus may hate me for the rest of his life. Dorothy already does. I've lost a sister, maybe permanently. I've lost whatever relationship I had with my nephews. But I haven't lost myself. I haven't lost the values my father taught me. I haven't sacrificed my integrity on the altar of keeping the peace. And those things, those watches sitting in their cabinet, they're not just metal and glass and precision gears. They're a reminder that some things are worth protecting, that boundaries matter, that love without respect isn't love at all. I'm 65 years old. I've buried my wife, buried my parents, and now maybe buried my relationship with my sister. I'm learning that sometimes doing the right thing means standing alone. But I'm still standing, and that has to count for something. The Rolex on my wrist keeps ticking, just like my father's heart kept beating through every hardship he faced. I can hear it in the quiet of my house, a steady rhythm, a reminder that time moves forward, whether we're ready or not. I think I'm ready now, ready to accept that not every story has a happy ending, that some relationships can't be saved. That family is important, but so is self-respect. And maybe, just maybe, somewhere down the line, Marcus will understand that too. That the real gift I gave him wasn't a place to stay or money to spend. It was the truth that actions have consequences, that stealing has a price, that you can't take from people who love you and expect them to keep opening their doors. I don't know if he'll learn that lesson. I hope he does, for his sake, not mine. But whether he does or doesn't, I'll be here. In this too big house, with my routines and my watches and my hard-won peace. And I'll know that I did what my father would have done. I stood up for what mattered. I protected what was mine to protect. And I'll keep moving forward, one day at a time, the way that Rolex keeps ticking, steady, unbroken, still here,